is the only highest fact. It is a fact that is underlined. The significance of it also is underlined. The point is whether this is the highest. This is the question Sri Aurobindo has discussed somewhere else also. And I think we need to refer to one of the statements that Sri Aurobindo has made in regard to this subject. And that is in the chapter called Reality and Cosmic Illusion. In my book here, it is page number 420. I don't know. That is the difference, is it? Is it the paragraph starting with "but this debate belongs to the domain"?
No, it says, "but so far we have only cleared a part of the problem."
No, then there is a problem. It begins, "but this debate belongs to the domain of pure reason."
Which paragraph is it
Hmm?
Which paragraph?
That is very much... What is the para that you have tell me?
The first paragraph is, "but so far we have only cleared a part of the problem." That means the chapter.
Read the next paragraph. Give me, I shall find out for you. No, this is...
But this debate belongs to the domain of...
Yeah.
469, page 469.
59.
69.
This is in reality and the cosmic illusion.
Yeah, that's right. 469. Sri Aurobindo says, in this paragraph, in the first 6 lines you omit, Sri Aurobindo speaks of this experience. It comes upon us. Have you got that line? It refers to this experience of the inactive Brahman. So read from there. It comes upon us with a great force of awakening to reality when the thought is stilled, when the mind withdraws from its constructions, when we pass into a pure selfhood, void of all sense of individuality, empty of all cosmic contents. If the spiritualized mind then looks at individual and cosmos, they may well seem to it to be an illusion, a scheme of names and figures and movements forcefully imposed on the sole reality of the self-existent, or even the sense of self becomes inadequate. Both knowledge and ignorance disappear into sheer consciousness, and consciousness is plunged into a trance of pure superconscient existence. Or even existence ends by becoming too limiting a name for that which abides solely forever. There is only a timeless eternal, a spaceless infinite, the utterness of the Absolute, a nameless peace, an overwhelming single objectless ecstasy. There can certainly be no doubt of the validity, complete within itself, of this experience. There can be no denial of the overwhelming, decisive convincingness, ekatmya pratyaya saram, with which this realization seizes the consciousness of the spiritual seeker. But, and this is where the new argument starts, but all spiritual experience is experience of the infinite, and it takes a multitude of directions. Some of them, and not this alone, are so close to the divine and the absolute, so penetrated with the reality of its presence, or with the ineffable peace and power of the liberation from all that is less than it, that they carry with them this overwhelming sense of finality, complete and decisive. There are 100 ways of approaching the supreme reality, and as is the nature by the way taken, so will be the nature of the ultimate experience by which one passes into that which is ineffable, that of which no report can be given to the mind or expressed by any utterance. All these definitive culminations may be regarded as penultimates of the one ultimate. They are steps by which the soul crosses the limits of mind into the Absolute. Is then this realization of passing into a pure immobile self-existence, or this nirvana of the individual and universe, one among these penultimates? Or is itself the final and absolute realization which is at the end of every journey and transcends and eliminates all lesser experience? It claims to stand behind and supersede, to sublate and to eliminate every other knowledge. If that is really so, then its finality must be accepted as conclusive. But against this pretension, it has been claimed that it is possible to travel beyond by a greater negation or a greater affirmation, to extinguish self in non-being, or pass through the double experience of cosmic consciousness and nirvana of world consciousness in the one existence to a greater divine union and unity which holds both these realizations in its vast integral reality. It is said that beyond the duality and the non-duality, there is that in which both are held together and find their truth, inner truth, which is beyond them. A consummating experience which proceeds by the exceeding and elimination of all other possible but lesser experiences is, as a step towards the Absolute, admissible. A supreme experience which affirms and includes the truth of all spiritual experience, gives to each its own Absolute, integralizes all knowledge and experience in a greater supreme reality might be the one step farther, that is at once a largest, illuminating and transforming truth of all things and a highest infinite transcendence. The Brahman, the supreme reality, is that which being known, all is known. But in the illusionist solution, it is that which being known, all becomes unreal and an incomprehensible mystery. In this other experience, the reality being known, all assumes its true significance, is truth to the eternal and absolute. This is the basic statement of the totality of Sri Aurobindo's integral philosophy and yoga. It admits the inactive Brahman, but it also admits the possibility of two other experiences which claim to go beyond this experience, at least two other experiences. It also admits other experiences which are of the same level but irradiated by different paths, like the experience of the Shiva school of thought, the supreme realization of Shiva who is dynamic, of Vishnu who is also dynamic, and not purely inactive Brahman. So these Sri Aurobindo calls penultimate realizations, not ultimate, but penultimate experiences. So, beyond these penultimate experiences are two other experiences. One is the experience which is more negative, the experience which Aurobindo calls experience of the non-being. Shankara's experience is the experience of the being. Advaitic experience is the experience of this highest being. Buddhists, according to them, there is an experience higher than the experience of being. You go into non-being. And Sri Aurobindo speaks of another higher experience in which all these experiences are transcended and all of them are held together. And therefore Sri Aurobindo says that here in the highest experience all of them can stand together. And Sri Aurobindo's affirmation is that that is also the experience which has been described in the Upanishad in terms of Paratpara, in the term of Purushaha, in the Kathopanishad, that which goes beyond all that, and the highest is not Tat but Purushaha, is the being. Even the Ishopanishad, from where the description is given in the chapter which we were reading just now, even there, the same reality is described both in neuter gender and in the masculine gender. If you read the full description, it is Tat, Shukram, and so on. And then says Saha. In the same sentence, Swayambhuhu, that is the description given. It is that which is the self-existent, Saha Swayambhuhu, not self-existence, but self-existent, that which exists, he who exists. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Sri Aurobindo says it is the same reality which is described. It is Akshara Purusha, Kshara Purusha, and Purushottama. There is a dynamic and a static reality. Both are integrated into a supreme reality which is both static and dynamic. So according to Sri Aurobindo, this supreme integrating experience is a reaffirmation of the Upanishadic experience as also the Gita's experience. And Upanishadic experience is also the experience of the Veda, because Veda describes the reality both as Ekam Sat and also as Devaha. So, both descriptions are to be found in the Rig Veda and in all the Vedas. And therefore, this integral experience is not for the first time found in Sri Aurobindo. The validity of an experience is to be judged by confirmation, by verification. What Sri Aurobindo states is verified right from the Vedic times. It is only at a given time in the history of India that this claim was made by Buddhists for the first time, that the experience of the known being is the highest. And Buddhism did not accept the authority of any other Veda or Upanishad or the Gita or any of the kind. It simply asserted on its own, known being is the highest. And Buddhism did not accept the authority of any other Veda or Upanishad or the Gita or any of the kind. It simply asserted on its own, known being, the Shunya, is the highest according to Buddhism. Now Shankara's affirmation came much later, but it was under the shadow of that affirmation of the known being. And finding many statements in the Upanishads which support the experience of the being which is inactive, and there are a number of such statements in the Upanishads which do state that being is the highest, or the Tat or Ekam is the highest. So, it is on the basis of the authority of those experiences that Shankara's philosophy affirmed that the highest reality is the inactive Brahman. And that he admitted that dynamic Brahman also is there. He granted some reality to Ishvara in his philosophy. But ultimately he said Ishvara is itself an illusion. And ultimately even Ishvara consciousness has to be transcended, and the highest experience is the experience of the inactive Brahman. It is from that time that in India a tremendous conflict has arisen on this subject. Even today, that conflict has not ceased. In fact, one of the greatest crises of Indian philosophy is connected with this great debate in India. There are at least 4 or 5 varieties of Vedanta. Shankara's Vedanta is one system of Vedanta. Ramanuja is another system of Vedanta. It's called Vishishtadvaita. Then there is the Dvaitavada of Madhvacharya. He is also Vedanta. And then there is Vallabhacharya, which is Shuddhadvaita. And then there is the Vedanta of Sri Chaitanya, which speaks of Veda Veda, Achintya Veda Vedavada, unthinkable difference and union and oneness. So, in regard to the same text of Vedanta Sutra, the text is the same. Vedanta Sutra is a book which is supposed to summarize the whole of Upanishadic philosophy. It is attributed to Badarayana. It is Badarayana who composed this text called Vedanta Sutra. This Vedanta Sutra, the same text is interpreted by all these acharyas, and each acharya differs from the other. And each acharya claims Vedanta Sutra as the authority. So you can imagine the kind of conflict that is existent in Indian thought, and when the Westerners come and examine our claims, there is a tremendous difficulty of explaining these differences. It's a crisis from which one can escape or one can resolve only if one can grant that there is an experience, an integral experience, in which all these experiences are found to be valid. And that is what we find in the life divine. So in a sense you might say that this is an integral philosophy in which all the different schools of Vedanta get reconciled and reaffirmed. And in that sense, once again, from a historical point of view, the impasse of Indian philosophy is now crossed. And that too on the same grounds on which all these Vedantic schools ultimately stand. The Vedantic schools stand on two grounds of argument.